Hey everyone, thank you for joining me. I'm Professor Charu. We are back in micro. So to remind you what we went through, we learned about different ways economies could make decisions. We saw how that could be depicted in the production possibilities frontiers. And then we started to drill down just a little, by looking at the market model, demand and supply. Now we're going to drill down even further. And we're going to drill down by looking first at demand and then at supply. So we're going to separate out those two as we've been doing so far. And our drill down right now is demand. So thinking through the market model, a reminder that what we imagine is that the average consumer does not interact with anybody in the economy outside of the market. A. B. Mostly their reactions are modulated through prices. This sounds weird, but just remember, when I go to Rite Aid and buy a gallon of milk, I'm not asking who produced the milk, what does other people want in relation to milk, what the emotions of the people who are selling me milk are. I might be a nice person, I might ask them that. But at the end of the day, what I look at is the price of milk. That's what I look at and that's what I buy. So my model, while it seems kind of unemotional, it's actually not a bad depiction of how we make decisions. Lots of things we do in our life. Not everything. And there are going to be some really crucial things where we have to come back to this. Not everything, but lots of things. We just look at the price. We look at the price in relation to what we want and decide to buy it or not. So part of what we are going to do in this module is the theory of the consumer. Remember, we are not looking at you as a worker. This is not the theory of labor. Not yet. We'll come back to that. We're just looking at people who earn an income somewhere, wages, whatever, and then they show up to buy stuff. Food, groceries, milk, fruit, rice, whatever. And we're going to come up with this idea that people, when they make these decisions, are, and I'm going to use the word, rational. So the first thing you need to know is what this word rational means for economists. Rational does not mean smart. Rational does not mean best. Rational does not mean most able to figure out all that's happening in the world and deciding what the best thing for the world is. No. Rational in economics is a very small idea. Rational means I got some desires, I got some aims, I'm going to go to the market and I'm going to figure out what to buy. That's really very minimally all it means. Rational in economics means that people who are rational maximize. Isn't that a lovely word? Maximize. Maximize. If you are rational, you maximize. And all that means, that word maximize, it doesn't mean smartest, bestest, brilliantest. It just means you do the best you can right now in these circumstances. Rational people maximize a word that we are finally going to use called utility. This is a very complicated word. We're going to come back to this. So in economics, rational means you maximize utility, subject to constraint. And we're going to go over all these words, because when you go through these words, they're actually not that complicated. They're kind of like fancy words for pretty simple things. So rational people maximize something called utility. So what is utility? When you look at this word utility, utility sounds good, right? It sounds like useful. It sounds like utility for some outcome, useful, valuable. This word utility means what you want. We're going to replace this word utility with desire. That's literally this word. It doesn't mean use, it means desire. So what we're saying is markets are really good for something. They're really good for maximizing decision making by rational people who wish to maximize what they want. Economics is interestingly, and the word they use is neutral. Economics is interestingly neutral or agnostic about what's in here. So when I say something is efficient, I just mean it's really good at meeting what you want. When I desire to assess an economy and I look at some of the desires and they entail people saying, who cares about the future generation? I need my fossil fuels. That's one kind of desire. When people say, let's really care about the environment, that's another kind of desire. I'm neutral there. And it doesn't feel like that's good for people to be neutral on. So I would like to just acknowledge that my discipline is catching up with people, like all disciplines do. And we are adding ideas of sustainability and ideas of equity and ideas of stability to the earlier concepts of efficiency and growth, which were the ideas that really anchored our discipline, especially in the Cold War, when that was a big deal, where, people actually paid price and people had to care about that. But utility, just so you know, it sounds so good, but when someone tells you this will maximize utility, all they mean is what you want, you got the money, I can pay for it. That's really all it means. So in that context, rationality is this idea that ordinary people maximize what they want, given their budget and given the price of the goods they have to pay for.